Makerspace, connect to Wazi. Fuzzy Wazi camera. Come on.
I don't know.
Preview is supported, you little piece of crap. Anyway, I am recording. Didn't know that. Anyway. Okay, so, alright, today we are with Brant and also our friend Tom. We are learning how to use freaking laser beams to cut stuff. Not really cut, more like an etch, I guess, probably. Either way, it's freaking cool as hell, and Brant's going to teach us how to do it. So I guess that means you're also going to get taught. Have fun.
So what we're going to do is we're going to put your guys' names in here. There's two types of operations. There's actually three, but you can describe them in two. There's raster and there's vector processing. So vector processing is like if you've got a knife and you're just cutting something out. The knife goes down, you're following a path, and that's all it is. The other one is raster. Raster is like an inkjet printer or a laser printer or mowing the grass. You're removing a region of material, you're doing a bunch of, back and forth, and it's just firing the laser wherever you want to remove material. So raster image is great if you're doing shapes like this, if you're doing text and you don't want it to just be a single line, you want it to have a little bit of weight to it, if it's going to be a bold font, things like that. Vector is more like if you're cutting out a pattern. So think of it that way. If you're cutting out, like fabric patterns, that's a vector. If you're printing an image, if you're printing anything that's got bulk to it, that's going to be raster. So in this case, we've got two processes. We're going to cut out the whole badge when we're done, and we're going to cut out a little piece for a clip you can wear. But we want to do all this stuff first. So the magenta, which is one of the colors up there, the magenta is going to be our raster image. We'll do that first. Once we have that in the piece of Baltic birch, then we'll go back and we'll cut the whole thing out. And we don't want to cut the whole thing out first because, again, there's that curve we were talking about a millimeter, maybe a little less. If that falls down, because I've got it on top of washers, that falls down, it's going to be harder to cut, it's not focused. It could also move slightly. If you're doing paper or cardboard or anything that's real light, the actual stream of air coming down through the cone could shift that and move around. So what you want to do is, while it's a nice solid piece, it's got a lot of weight to it, and it's secured, you want to go ahead and cut out your raster image. And then we'll go back on the rest. Similar like on the CNC machines we have in the CNC area, the little wood room off by the metal shop. We have machines that you'll actually use clamps and you hold things down, you tighten them to the table, they've got tracks in there that you can put clamps and things in. Or in some cases, there's machines, especially if you're engraving with plastic, you can just use hot glue. You just hot glue it down to the table, flatten it, make sure it's nice and level, and then you can go through and actually cut. When you're done, you just take a spatula or something and pry it up. So it all depends. Lasers are real great because if you're on the CNCs and you have to clamp it down, you need extra material now to clamp it down. You can't work all the way out to the edge. With this, you can work all the way out to the edge. You have to be careful because you don't want to, you're doing a circle and your material ends here, suddenly it's cutting off the thing, so now you end up with a piece missing. Or if you're doing an image and it cuts off some of the text, things like that could be a problem.
Because of the focal length, it won't hurt the machine at all.
Working up to the edge? If it goes off, it's fine. I was going to say, the real concern is if you've got a very shiny, a very mirrored surface. Like if you're cutting mirror, you can cut mirrored acrylic. I can actually show you, there's a great example up there of that. Or that became damaged, that's why somebody left it here. That was actually last Saturday. Or if you've got metal and it's very highly polished. If it's brushed, if it's fuzzy, if it's got paint on it, that's great because you can etch that away. If it's shiny and reflective, it's just going to bounce the laser back. And I don't know too much about the concerns of the laser going back up and following the path all the way back into the machine.
That would be pretty difficult.
It's hard for it to do,
I imagine.
I think, but it's just not productive work. You're not going to get anything out of it, so it's not worth trying. We've had people try to cut like phone cases and iPad cases and things for carbon fiber. So they've got a carbon fiber phone case or something, and a lot of that is the glues and the binders that they use in it, the actual resin, as well as if you're trying to cut into it and you don't have a powerful enough laser, the heat just dissipates. It doesn't build up enough focus that it actually cuts through. So you can etch on it, but you can't necessarily cut all the way through it. The fibers are just dissipating way too much heat. And in some cases, what you'll end up with is like this melted zone around it, where all the heat went out to the edges. So in the case here, what we'll do is, and whether you like CorelDRAW or not, That's just what we're going to use for today. You can use whatever you like. If you want to go ahead and type in your name, you can change the font. You can put in your last initial, your full last name, whatever you want to do. Sensitive with CorelDRAW. I'm not used to that. And some of the software I use at work, I'm an HVAC engineer, draw plans up for buildings, heating, cooling. And we use Revit software now, which is owned by Autodesk. They bought them a couple years ago. And it's not CAD anymore, it's 3D modeling. And even if you just want to draw a plan, you end up having to put a 3D object in, and then all it's doing is looking down and plan view as you print it. Well, the problem is you end up throwing things in the software just as a placeholder to get it to look. So yeah, if you started from scratch in CorelDRAW, you can go new from template, and then you've got 24 by 18 is the bed for this machine. So this opens it up. I guess somebody had saved something in it. I'm going to go ahead and do it. But you can see 24 wide, 18. You can check the rulers. If you take a file made on one machine, just make sure that if you go to a machine that's got a different workspace size, that you change this. So like if you're in this one but you want to work on the 50 watt, that needs to be 24 by 12. I actually just started something earlier this morning at like 9 o'clock when I got in, and it was a file made for that machine I used on this one, and it just cut like the bottom of it. And I'm like,
no.
oh, I gotta change the size. So, you know, that's a pretty easy thing to fix, but also a pretty easy thing to mess up.
Okay.
But generally speaking, there's a print area that you can just fill that in. You type in whatever you want. It's got pre-settings also, so you can make like all these different size sheets. If you have an 11 by 17 for whatever reason, you can do that. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and laser cut these. I'm only going to do the purple one first. I like to break things up personally. My workflow is to kind of just do one step at a time. And the reason for that is, you know, I can kind of see how things are going. I can slow it down. I don't want it to do a lot of processes at once, especially if one of them goes awry.
Right.
If one of them is cutting too deep or it's not cutting deep enough, and now it's going to take me an extra 30 minutes because it's so slow. I'll tweak my settings, I'll do one whole process, and then move to the next step. Okay. You can do it however you want. You can do every one of these steps at once and send one file to the computer.
I feel like that's illogical.
It depends. There's people that, you know, they don't necessarily care. They just want the thing made, or they're going to be doing a lot of them, and it makes sense to lowering right away. That's a problem. Okay, so it homed, it's ready. Now it's coming up, so that's good. The bed does get unlevel, misaligned every now and then. Okay. It doesn't happen often, but if there's something, you know, some debris or something that it's got these worm screws on the side, if for whatever reason one of them binds up and the other one keeps moving, that's how it gets off kilter. Okay. So occasionally we do have to get a level in there and redo it. There you go.
Perfect.
So yeah, I'm assuming it was just the optics were dirty.
Must have been, yeah.
So this, some people look at this and go, wow, it's getting really close to this machine. Again, remember, it's not 2 inches from the tip, it's 2 inches from the lens up in there to your workpiece. So this is focused now, we're in the clear. I'm gonna push that again just to get back to this screen. This is ready to go. When I'm ready to cut, I'll turn the air on and I'll turn the exhaust on. Okay. This over here, for example, this is pulses per inch versus quality, which is also known as image density. That's something that's different than speed, different than power. Basically, the pulses per inch is just like DPI, PPI. So with your resolution on your printer, if you've got an inch, do you want 100 pulses in 1 inch, or do you want 1,000, or do you want 500? You can see there's very little difference between 100 pulses per inch and 1,000. There's some difference, but not much. Yeah. On the vertical here, we've got the quality, which is from 1 to 6. You can go through this and do a work session much quicker, but you're not going to get nearly the same result as you do up here. So basically what you can do is, depending on the material you're working on, look at it and say, I like this setting, or I like this setting. I'm going to use those on my material and then see how that works for me. So same thing with some of the gradient charts that are up top. We've got some acrylic up there. There's a chunk of acrylic countertop that somebody gave us with the settings written on the back. So this is, you know, that was a very powerful, very slow cut. This was a very light one. But you can see, and there's a couple little boxes and cases over there of these types of pieces. So if you want to make some coasters, this may be a little too small depending on what you're drinking. But, you know, you can make small pieces of things if you want to put somebody's name or photo on there. We had a lot of fun with it, so. I was just showing, if you've got like an image and you want to do like a family photo or something, there's a raster image. What you want to do is import that into some image software, either Inkscape or Adobe Illustrator, or you can even do it in CorelDRAW. Okay. And here's a great example. Somebody left here with their settings that they used. They were on the 50 watt, so they're over here. 800 pulses per inch, 800 PPI. 80 power, 100 speed. So it was very fast, very powerful etch. And you know, if you put the power all the way up, but you put the speed all the way up too, that's not going to be nearly as dark or as deep of a cut as if you slow it down.
Yeah.
So you can get away with doing stuff, and you won't necessarily, like, you know, I'd much rather do 2 passes on something like this than burn it way too hard the first time, because then you can't undo it.
You can't undo that, yeah.
But yeah,
No
you bring
Control
that
Z
image
in real life.
No Control Z in real life. You got to make sure this is a grayscale or a black and white image. It wants to know that the regions are black or gray, and then the print driver and the software will just do the rest. So you'll get this nice contrast where, you know, you've got the dark areas, the regions, and then, you know, some gradients and everything else, but you can tell where people's, you know, eyes and faces are. Some material holds the cut a little bit better than others. If you did this on acrylic, it'd probably look very ghostly. It'd look very strange because you've got a lot of you know, reflections and light just in the atmosphere coming off of this.
Sure.
You know, you'd end up with a lot of glare, and it might look a little weird. But you know, wood's pretty good. I've seen some people do cork, which, depending on how complex the image is,
Interesting.
cork can be good. You know, paper, cardboard, things like that, you can have a lot of fun with. So we're gonna go ahead and get started over here.
One other quick question.
Yeah, sure.
You have to start with your object all the way up in the corner?
You don't have to. That's just a good, that's where the machine origin is. So that's
Yeah.
like 0 inches and 0 inches, you know, vertical
Okay.
and horizontal.
Otherwise, you
I
can
can
locate
move
it somewhere?
Yeah, like, so I've got my piece here. This is my workbench. If I take this and I move it into the middle, I can do that.
Okay.
But then I need to make sure my material's over there. I can show you a trick to line that up and register it too. Pretty much, I can make use, because I can cut all the way up to the edge, I can put my workpiece wherever I want, and I can put the image anywhere I want. And as long as they match up, it'll cut just fine.
Okay.
Now, one thing I do want to do is, because it only does raster images, like, you know, similar to an inkjet printer or a laser printer, it's going to go side to side. Because it can move along this gantry a lot faster than the whole gantry can move this way. So I don't want to try to cut a raster this way. I want to try to get it that way. So actually, where I have it shown, it probably would be better and faster to put them side by side like that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bother because it's so small. But again, if you were doing like 100 of something, little things like that add up over time. So in the case of this, what I'm going to do is draw a line around what we're working on. I don't know if actually that's going to be tall enough, but I'll check. And what I'll end up doing is putting a box around it, and then I'm going to send the file to Laser Cutter only with that box. And what you can do is lift the lid, hold down start, and it'll show you with that laser pointer setting that we use for aligning the cone, it'll show you where it's going to go. And that's great. Now, if you sent a raster image like that, it's going to start going back and forth. It won't be actually cutting, but it'll show you that. I'd like to see the whole thing quickly, so I'll do vector rather than the raster. Yeah. I mean, you can do it either way, but that's just going to be a lot quicker for me to try to figure out where my workpiece is. So from here, I go to print. And this looks like a regular print screen that you'd see if you're in AutoCAD or any other Windows program, if you're in Word or Excel. But I'm going to click on Properties next to the printer name, and it brings up this window. And this is where you do most of your work. So what we have here are pen mode. That's either your vector or your raster. The color, which corresponds to the colors we have up on the cheat sheet there on the wall. And each color you're going to want to assign a power and a speed. So again, if you have a really high power, a really low speed, you're going to cut all the way through. You're going to burn longer. If you have something that's very low power but very fast, it'll just lightly etch. So you can make almost any combination you can think of, and the gradient charts are a great example of what that turns out when you're done.
Power's on a scale of
1 to 100, or 0 to 100.
okay.
Same thing with speed.
Okay.
We also have the PPI, which is like the quality chart we have over here, and you can see there's not a whole lot of differences. Generally spend anywhere between 300 and 500 PPI is a good setting. If you put it up to 1,000, it doesn't necessarily like wear anything out quicker, but it's just you're not going to see a discernible difference. It doesn't slow the machine down necessarily. You will get a little bit more melting on plastics because it's firing more often. But then also, if you're doing really tight curves, that resolution will pick up and look really great. So if you're doing tight things, people have actually done like small wood inlays. They'll remove a piece of material, cut a different material, like a dark wood and a light wood. They'll put the dark wood in that cut.
Oh, that would be cool.
You can do it with that, and if you're doing very, very intricate things,
that'd be great for knives.
1,000 is great. It would.
Oh man, yeah.
So then, same thing with the quality. We've got a slider here that shows us the image density, and it'll show you if it's a really high image density, the quality looks great, but the throughput, this is how much you could make over time, is really low. If I drop it, I get like 3, it shows that I can go faster, but this thing starts to look really sketchy. And then by there, it's almost completely faded out. It's really not going to do much, and that's exactly like the chart on the wall. I can do a lot of it, but it's going to be low quality. So you can generally get away with 5 or 6, and 5 will be a little bit faster than 6, but if you want it to turn out nice, leave it at 6. In this case, we're going to do the magenta. I'm going to go ahead and click on these little boxes to turn things on and off. The magenta right now is set to 80 power, 10 speed. I'm going to want to turn that up a little bit because I know that this type of wood you can get away with doing a little bit faster and high power. I'm going to leave it 100% power, 80% speed, 500 PPI. I'm going to click set, and unfortunately the button is the same color as the background, so you just kind of have to remember to do that. Everything is skipped right now, so if I set it to the laser cutter, it won't do anything. I have to click this and kind of roll through all the settings. So I have skip.
And just as a reminder, RAST is for cutting, vectors for the inkjet kind of a thing.
Correct.
Okay.
So I can leave it on raster vector, which lets the software decide what to happen.
Okay.
I don't want to trust it, so I'm going to set it to raster.
Okay.
I don't need to click set again. If I want to use these settings again in the future, I can save them. And what it does is it saves it, to a thumb drive or my folder or wherever as a LAS file, which is, I'm assuming, laser cutter settings.
Right.
But I don't want to do that right now. I can also, once I do that, I can load them again. For this, I'm set up right now. I'm all good to go. I'll hit OK. I'll hit apply and then print. You can just hit print, but I get the habit of hitting apply because apply will save those settings for you.
Yeah.
And then if you go, oh, I wanted to move some text or change something before I actually print, I don't lose my settings. I hit cancel, I go back and they're still there. So I get in the habit of clicking apply. I'm going to click print. You can see this is our print window, so it's going to be up in the corner. Now, when the file is saved over here and the print spooler has rendered it, this will actually show up. This is our file display mode, if you remember from earlier. There it says file display. It'll actually show up with bulk, small badge, here's your file name, here's some settings. If you've got multiple settings, if you've got like multiple colors, you're doing maybe 20% power on one, 10% power on another, 80% power on another, it'll only show the first operation it's planning to do. Another thing, talking about the sequence that it cuts things in, if you draw a box first and then a circle, in the software it will try to cut out the box before the circle, just because you drew the box first. Once the file shows up over here, you can see this is what it looks like when it doesn't have any file in there. If it doesn't say empty or ready when you first turn it on, it'll show just zeros. If something's wrong with your file, it'll just show zeros. So you might want to send it to it again. Check your settings, make sure that you didn't skip every single thing. I'm going to make sure that I have my air open, which it is. I'm going to turn my air on, and then I'm going to turn on the exhaust. There we go. And then this is open all the way, so that's good. You can hear that's on. And I'm ready to start.
Hey everyone, so we had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Our files got corrupted for the last part of the laser cutter training video, so here I am again now, a few days later, to show you a beautiful name tag that was cut with freaking laser beams. Okay, so remember that it's pretty cool, don't you know? And yeah. So now you know how to cut things with lasers? Yeah, don't you know? That's pretty cool. Yeah, so have a good day there. Yeah, have the best day. So yeah. Laser beams and Wienermobiles. Doesn't get any better than that. Yeah, they're beautiful. So, thanks for joining me. Huge shout out to Brant for teaching me how to cut stuff with freaking laser beams. I mean, that's so exciting, dude. Lasers. Now I can use that to cut my maker mark onto the stuff I make. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I hope you join me on the 23rd or the 24th at Maker Fair. That's the 23rd or 24th of September. That's at State Fair Park all day long. It's a free event, so come have fun with your kids, whatever. There's hundreds of different exhibits that you can do. If you haven't seen our first video, which would be making a spoon, that'll be right here in the magic YouTube world. Oh. Our next video will be right here, which is hopefully the katana. I guess we don't know. We'll see. You never know what'll happen next. World is weird like that. Right down here. Please like and subscribe. I'll love you forever. I mean, I already love you. You're a human being. But I'll love you even more if you like and subscribe. And then also, the most love will go to those who sign up on our Patreon page. There, you can actually read our mission statement. We'll also be posting a video with our mission statement because we are trying to do more than just have a YouTube experiment. This is more like a movement, grassroots movement. We're trying to get people excited about their lives, and I hope that you're as excited about the things that we can learn and share with you as I am. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Love you.